Trump's biggest supporters. We're seeing them post to social media that this is not an American fight. I think most tellingly, we've seen a lot of support for Israel's war in Iran in the conservative media. I've been watching very closely to see which guests they're bringing on, what the hosts are talking about. This time of night, it tends to be more about opinion, and it's been very pronounced. Every guest I've heard from them is saying the U.S. has no business in this fight. The U.S. is vulnerable because there's 40,000 U.S. troops in the region that would be under attack, and that this is not what the president promised to do on the campaign trail twice. That was his main thing. He said, I'm going to be a peacemaker. And just to put it in a broader context, if you think about this, he said he would stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He said there would be a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So none of that has happened. He's been criticized for it, and you can tell in his social media posts that he's very annoyed that he doesn't see he's getting credit for being what he says a peacemaker, the way he's stopped events from unfolding across the globe. So he wants to be able to say, I brought peace. Now, he also likes to be seen as as being strong when it comes to the United States military. So a lot of different signals being sent here in Washington, D.C., and I don't think we'll know much more until he's landed back in Washington.
Okay, Patty. Also happening at the moment, the military assets that the US is moving into the region. Can you just talk us through exactly what is happening and what potentially that could signal?
Pieces of
Dude, Al Jazeera always has some shit going on. Kind of like noise in the background.
For the G7 summit that was ostensibly going to be about trade and AI and other issues, but obviously the topic, a main topic, has changed given what's happening in the Middle East. Joining me now is Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Janone, and it's great to have you here, sir, because obviously the president coming out tonight and warning that everyone who lives in Tehran needs to evacuate immediately, and then cutting his trip.
Did so many things together, and we hope that one day it will be the case, that we will be able to continue to develop the bond between the people. Regarding the regime, we think this regime should not be there, and I hope it will happen.
And so we're just gonna bomb them.
When we attack, we tell the people not to be there. The people in Iran, they know very well where is the RGC headquarters. They know very well where the reactors are being built. So they should be smart about where they are spending their time in the next few days.
But you're not saying there should be a mass evacuation from Tehran?
Well, I don't want to get into details, but I can tell you that today, when we knew that we operate in a certain area, we gave them a warning. And by the way, as we speak, even though it's late night in Iran today, you see tens of thousands of people moving out, So I think they know exactly what to do.
We are told that that Israel came to the United States over the weekend with a proposal and a possibility to take out the supreme leader of Iran, and that it was something that was rejected by the White House, that the president did not think that was a good idea. There was essentially a concern that it would escalate this conflict even further.
Dude, the fact that they're too crazy for Trump,
even if you did take out the supreme leader, that it would escalate this conflict more.
Well, we cannot go.
That's crazy, bro. Seeing as assholes. They does not have a live feed.
Going into details, but you can believe me that we have the capability.
Anyways, it's very possible that, bro. Honestly, like, part of me is scared that they're just gonna drop a nuke on Tehran. Hopefully that does not happen. But like the posturing from. Like, the fact that it's coming from Trump is what really scares me, because, like, obviously I don't think Israel's stupid enough to drop a nuke without approval, but I think they have that now, maybe. But at the same time, they could just be talking about like a decapitation kind of operation. This is crazy too. They're just like doing
The state
domestic
TV
terrorism.
compound was in the area where Israel issued an evacuation.
They bombed.
Cast.
This is live. Like live in front of the whole nation.
The state TV compound was in the area where Israel issued an evacuation threat, which is home to embassies, UN agencies,
Evacuation
and
threat,
diplomatic
yeah.
staff. It comes as more strikes have hit western and eastern parts of Tehran. The entire country has been under attack. In the northwest, an Israeli strike hit a hospital. The wards were damaged and patients were injured. Iran's foreign ministry is calling it a war crime.
It is
In the
a
early
war
hours
crime.
of Monday, Israel fired more missiles. Air defense systems in Tehran were activated. The entire country is under attack. Israel's Air Force has claimed to have struck Mashhad airport, about 2,300 kilometers from Israel, making it the longest reach of Israeli attacks since Friday. Israeli strikes have targeted Iranian nuclear and missile facilities and assassinated military commanders and scientists. President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned Tehran's response will be more decisive and severe if Israel's hostile actions continue.
And I'm
They
assuming
have already passed on the red
he
line,
is
and when
in charge of the actual Iranian military, because for at least as far as I'm aware, it's just the IRGC that's been attacking up to this point. But potentially the full Iranian military could be leveraged against Israel. It's crazy that they were this close to a nuclear power facility. I don't know if that, I mean, obviously if it's destroyed, it could just have like a fallout. It wouldn't necessarily explode, or it wouldn't explode, that's not what it's geared to do, but it would make the area unlivable.
Multiple buildings have been destroyed as Israel's advanced air defenses were unable to block all missiles. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it's using new methods in this latest wave, which disrupted it.
And like the craziest part is that Iran doesn't have the targeting capabilities of Israel. One, because of their, they're not forcefully like occupying the other regions of the nation like Israel. So this guy was literally on earlier. What the fuck? Like this is the same clip. Iran does not have the targeting capabilities of Israel, so they're launching barrages of missiles in a direction with, calculations, but they're not precise enough to, retarget mid-flight or anything like that. But on the other hand, like the Israeli strikes are very intentional. Like the things that they're hitting are what they want to hit, which is the worst part because they're bombing like TV stations and hospitals.
For being here today. We are here today under somber circumstances. As you know, our community has
Yeah, so the topic clearly on the left, whatever it is, it can be the riots in Los Angeles or it can be Israel attacking Iran. It's always kind of going back to Trump. On that note, let's bring back in the chief political anchor, Brett Baer. He joins us by phone. He just happened to speak with the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Brett, what did he tell you?
Hey, Trace. Yeah, I just spoke to President Trump. One thing, the president was aware of Israel's action before it happened. There were no surprises here. But he gave me a quote. He said, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We'll see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back. Now, the president, I know, has spoken to Prime Minister Netanyahu several times in recent days. As I mentioned before, the Trump administration reached out to a key Middle Eastern ally beforehand to acknowledge this strike was going to happen, but that the U.S. was not involved in the strike, but the goal still to get Iran back to the negotiating table. There was this building frustration about what Iran was doing at that negotiating table with Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy. He was scheduled again for Sunday. Looks like, obviously, that may change the dynamic there. Whether that moves forward at all depends on what Iran does in response. The president told me he's, looking to see what the retaliation may be. CENTCOM is on high alert. The U.S. will defend. Will help defend Israel if needed. And as I mentioned in the last time we talked, the Iron Dome has been replenished in Israel in recent weeks. So there's still this hope in the president's sense and the people around him that this changes the dynamic for Iran and that this does not launch into what will be a back and forth. But we just saw the post from the Supreme Leader saying that this is the beginning of a major retaliation and that Israel, in his words, has sealed its fate. U.S. officials are confirming to us that a number of top Iranian officials, leaders, are dead after these strikes. But as far as the full sense of what the targeting looked like, Natanz, the nuclear facility, was struck, but we don't believe it was by the biggest of the penetrating bombs. But we will have to see come first light. And the U.S. military, and we've been saying this, was not directly involved in these strikes, but there clearly was an advanced knowledge and communication and knowledge of what was happening. And now we'll see exactly what the retaliation looks like.
Great reporting, as always. Brett Baer, the chief political anchor, live for us on the phone. Brett, if you get more information, we'll bring you back in.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
I mean, it's just... it's insane reading, like... Where's the clip with... Oh, I gotta just bring it over here. Yeah. Oh, shit. Iran just launched... Ooh, I need to find that. Where was that? Iran just launched another barrage of missiles, but I wanted to bring this up first.
In the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal. And with the president, is he still aiming for a nuclear deal with the Iranians? Of course. The president, as he said today, his position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first.
Dude, this is not peace.
We are postured defensively in the
We're
region
America
to be
first.
strong. In pursuit of...
It's so crazy people voted for Trump, the peace guy.
First means we're going to defend
We're going to be the peace president.
and American interests. So when you see jets and you see...
Then you bring in this fucking idiot, and he wants to rename the Department of the Department of Defense. He wanted to rename it the War Department, which is very telling
be in this situation
as to what he's talking
about. Of a peace deal, and we certainly hope that's what happens here. And America first means we're going to defend American personnel and American interests.
This guy
so when you
is lying.
see jets and you see air defense assets and counter UAS assets, that's because my job as the Secretary of Defense is to ensure that our people are safe and that we're strong, so that we can set the conditions
Our people,
for a deal.
the
and
ones
President
that
Trump
are
made it clear it's on the table. The question is whether Iran will take
in
it. Be in this situation
Israel?
pretty soon with the president. Is he still aiming?
Because otherwise, like, Iran does not have the capability to strike the U.S. Like, it's impossible. They would have to send a plane all the way to, you know, New York is the place that fucking Netanyahu said was like, he's like, it's Tel Aviv first, New York next. And it's like, bro, they would have to send a plane all the way to New York. And, like, Israel would intercept it before it got past the Mediterranean Sea, most likely. If you know, in the scenario where Iran actually wants to drop a nuke on New York, which I don't think is the case. But either way, what is happening with my feed? Is this... Oh, okay. I don't know. I think if anything does happen in the U.S., it's a false flag operation, 100%.
Overnight. The Cold War has turned hot overnight. In the early hours of June 13th, Israel launched preemptive strikes on Iran. Multiple explosions were heard across Tehran, with online footage showing blasts lighting up the capital. But the fire that started in the city didn't stop there. Additional explosions occurred in Isfahan, Tabriz, Kermanshah, Hamadan, Qom, and Piranshah, cities that host nuclear, military, or strategic sites. Separate strikes also hit the Natanz nuclear site.
The board must condemn Israeli aggression in its strongest term and hold it accountable.
Barbara Slavin is a distinguished fellow at the Stimson Center in Washington, D.C.
A
and a lecturer in
fellow.
international affairs at George Washington University. She says Israel cannot destroy the Iranian nuclear program without U.S. involvement.
The Israelis have not succeeded in achieving what was their announced goal, which was to destroy the Iranian nuclear program. And they frankly cannot do that without United States assistance. So what we're seeing now is a kind of push and pull by the Israelis, trying to get the United States to step in. Meantime, there are reports that the Iranians are urging an urgent return to diplomacy. So we will see. I don't think the president wants the United States to get involved, but the Israelis seem quite determined to continue their strikes on Iran, and Iran is retaliating.
This cut is crazy. This is I'm sorry, but god damn. Like, just cut it off, bro. Like, give it up. It's too late.
I don't see anyone at this point putting a stop to this. The proposal that the United States made to the Iranians before this war started was maximalist. It demanded that the Iranians give up uranium enrichment entirely. And the question is, would Iran be willing to do that, or at least pause the program for a significant amount of time in order to stop the fighting? What's clear is that Iran wants the Israelis to stop hitting it. I mean, there were just pictures of the Israelis hitting the Iranian television antennas in central Tehran. They've issued threats to a number of locales in Tehran, including a district with some 300,000 people in it, to seek safety. So they're trying very, very hard to, and succeeding to some extent in terrifying the Iranian population. But meanwhile, they have not achieved what was their announced goal, which is destroying the nuclear program. Trump doesn't seem inclined to stop the Israelis at this point, so perhaps there is some message that Iran can send indirectly to the White House through Oman or Qatar or the Saudis or others with some new proposal that might entice Trump.
Commodity markets have been volatile, driven by the ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel, with oil prices spiking sharply. About 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest, this waterway is about 33 kilometres wide, split between the territorial waters of Iran and Oman. At times of diplomatic tension, Iran has in the past threatened to disrupt shipping traffic. Naeem Aslam is Chief Investment Officer at Zay Capital Markets. He says the longer the conflict goes on, the wider the impact we could see in the markets.
Yes, a lot of focus among investors.
I mean, it's already
it is all about the
going to
energy
go up.
market, and of course the recent
yet,
attacks on the gas refineries over there. What that would entail for the Europe, because there could be another crisis because of that, because Iran plays a very, very imperative and important role with that one. But the important aspect out of everything is that particular Hormuz pathway is not only for oil. All the rest of the trade, also those particular containers and ships that go past that path. So if that is closed, we're going to go back to the previous chapter where these particular shipping containers from across the Atlantic, coming from China, they will have to reroute. That means shipment delays of up to 3 months or at least 2 months. Yesterday, we were having a survey with a lot of industries in Europe. And the main concern among those particular entrepreneurs were that if this particular path is closed, we are going to have another major supply shock in Europe because we are not going to be able to contain.
I think they could to absolutely destroy us. They want to put my father in jail. They would have put all of us in jail.
I think right now, if you look at the volatility index, if you look at the other riskier assets, we do not see much of that strength in those particular ones. We don't see much panic in the market as well, because everyone is thinking that, okay, this could be one of those tit for tat, and perhaps there could be some sort of a negotiation tactics along the way. But if the US gets involved, things could get very serious. And I think that is what most of the investors are very much blindsided currently looking. I'm not looking at that particular aspect of it.
OK, let's recap the latest developments. US President Donald Trump is leaving the G7 summit in Canada early as conflict between Israel and Iran escalates. French leader Emmanuel Macron says Trump told fellow leaders an offer was made to reach a ceasefire. Well, that's all from me, Tom McRae. The news continues here on Al Jazeera after witness.
Damn, I just cut him off.
And then people say, well, that's not part of the Trump doctrine. I'm like, Donald Trump wrote his MAGA movement. It's his America First movement. And for people to think they know more about the America First movement is kind of comical to me.
It is, and for some reason, people don't want to listen, all right? I mean, my father's been always very direct. I don't want to go to war. I want peace on earth. I'm sick and tired of seeing these young men and women all over the world, innocent civilians. I'm sick and tired of seeing them die. But at the same time,
we're going to have peace all over the world.
On earth. And Sean,
we're going to be peaceful by having the strongest military in the world.
It will be over so quickly.
And using it, too.
I really wish people on the other side of the world were listening to those comments. Now, he's been saying this for a decade, Sean. He's been saying it for a decade. I do not want to go to war.
What the fuck is playing that song, dude? What is this? What the fuck?
Against Afghanistan. He was so against Iraq. He was so against these endless 20-year battles where you lose thousands and thousands and thousands of incredible young people at the same time spending trillions of dollars which could otherwise be invested in our schools and our infrastructure and our country.
Dude, your dad's the one that's taking all of that funding away, you fucking moron. God. I'm not watching this shit. They're not even talking about what's going on. Okay, yeah, Al Jazeera has also moved on.
The Arak heavy water reactor and the Parchin military complex. Satellite imagery, for instance, shows considerable but likely superficial damage at Natanz. Either way, the initial 24 hours have been nothing short of a disaster for the Iranians. Israeli jets are flying almost uncontested over Iranian airspace. Mossad operatives are roaming freely, launching drones and anti-tank guided missiles at key Iranian systems, all while Hezbollah remains on the sidelines. Already, multiple senior nuclear scientists and high-ranking military leaders have been killed. As was bound to happen, Iran responded harshly and launched waves of loitering munitions and ballistic missiles at Israel. Most of these were intercepted in the air, but some made it through. Tel Aviv was hit multiple times, and significant damage has been reported at Israel's Central Military Command Center. What we're seeing is unlike anything the region has witnessed before. The firepower unleashed makes Hezbollah and Hamas rockets look like toys by comparison. Meanwhile, Netanyahu has urged Israeli citizens to prepare for a prolonged conflict. And so it begins. When sirens replace speeches, war is no longer coming. It has arrived. In the immediate aftermath, Iran launched more than 100 drones toward Israel and vowed further retaliation. For its part, America has chosen not to intervene. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the US had no role in the attacks, while President Trump is urging Iran to make a deal or face even more brutal attacks. This may well be a good cop, bad cop negotiating tactic. Around 260 media outlets reported on this story,
that,
most of them right-leaning.
It could imply that Israel has no appetite to listen to the United States on, its Middle Eastern shenanigans, if you will. Like I said earlier, I think it's definitely possible that they're looking to just nuke Tehran, because they have nukes, whether they want to admit it or not, they do. And this guy could be right. It could be good cop, bad cop, and Trump is 100% in line with what's going on in Iran. However, we also could be looking at some disagreement, and Trump is just being clear about it in order to have some form of separation from what's happening. He doesn't have to be held accountable for what's happening. I don't know. I guess we will see as things unfold.
This is also how governments negotiate when they try to talk without saying things directly. They employ the media. But even so, reaching a deal now will be difficult. Among the casualties is Ali Shamkhani, a close confidant of the supreme leader and Iran's chief nuclear negotiator. So there's a lot to piece together when it comes to understanding what's coming next. I use ground news to connect the dots because it allows me to check out local and regional sources. I truly believe that is the best way to understand this tricky region. I can't stress enough how important this is, which is why I asked Ground News to sponsor this video. I mainly browse the blind spot page, where they share lots of interesting stories that other news outlets often miss due to biased reporting. Go to ground.news/Caspian or download the mobile app and enter promo code Caspian to save 40% off the Vantage plan. Also, by subscribing, you're directly supporting my channel. Thank you, Ground News. The link is below. As of this time, the full extent of Israel's attack on Iran
That, I believe, was last night. Or sometime in the last 24 hours. That was in Haifa, and took out their power grid, which Haifa, I believe, is the biggest, I could be wrong, but I know it's a big part of the power grid in Israel, set apart from what they receive from outside the country, because if I'm not mistaken, Because I know they get some power from Turkey. What? I mean, this could just be Hasbara, but I feel like I read something about Turkey providing energy. I don't know, I guess nothing is really going on. Other news that I at least wanted to touch on was that they did arrest the shooter in Minnesota. That
you might be asking, because we see it a lot of times these cases, go in various orders when they are, but this is an indication that the United States Attorney's Office stands along with us in the state of Minnesota, that when somebody and an evil individual decides to move this and create fear in our communities and commit evil acts, that we will pursue every possible charge that we can, from the state charges that you've learned about today to these federal charges that were discussed early on. And I'm grateful for the leadership of the United States Attorney's Office.
All right, well, let's cut in. This is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the U.S. Attorney. Let's listen in.
But the details of Belter's crime are even worse. They are police. Belter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Senator Hoffman had a security camera. I've seen the footage from that camera, and it is chilling. Belter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door." Senator Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, came to the door. When they opened the door, Belter shined the flashlight in their faces and said there had been a shooting reported in the house. Belter asked if they had any weapons. When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer." Belter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Belter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized. After shooting Senator Hoffman and his wife, Belter traveled to the home of another Minnesota state representative in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Video surveillance showed that Belter rang the doorbell at the state representative's house at approximately 2:24 a.m. on Friday night. Again, he was dressed as a law enforcement officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, carrying a handgun and a flashlight, and wearing that same hyper-realistic silicone mask. Again, the images, as you can see on the screen, are haunting. Now, fortunately, the state representative was not home. She and her family were gone on vacation, and so Belter left.
Bro, that is chilling, like the guy said. Well, for one, apparently, I can just do it here. That's fine. Yeah, it's a little crazy that Israel and the U.S. are kind of in an information war of their own, because local Israeli news is reporting that U.S. aircraft are participating in the strikes on Iran, while the White House claims that this is fake news. The fact that they're not even on the same page with this is kind of indicative that the same is true with Trump and Netanyahu. So we might see some, I don't know, I think Israel is planning things. I'm But yeah, per Wall Street Journal, which is interesting, but Israel and Iran are both launching barrages again. Okay, excuse me. Those are way off in the distance. What? Okay. Anyways, yeah, this guy, people, and I think it was even some people on Fox News, but definitely people online were trying to dress this guy up as a leftist somehow. But once his identity was confirmed, he obviously is a fucking Trump supporter. Going around, and I mean, he literally had a list of a bunch of Democratic lawmakers that he wanted to assassinate. So, but it's yet again another attempt by the media and even just the right to use misinformation to gain support for what they're doing, which is, I mean, it's just crazy to be that stupid. I don't know. Like, especially the people that are touting, like, oh, the media is lying to you. It's like, your media is lying to you. But, anyways. I don't think we'll see anything more of this. I mean, honestly, this is just another thing to try and the media is going to latch onto to try and pull attention away from the protests that are going on around the country, and especially in Los Angeles, and especially in Los Angeles with the LAPD and I'm sure the National Guard, and I don't know if the Marines have done anything, but I mean, there are clear signs of abuse there, so of course they want to pull attention away from that.
There's only one person.
Still not showing anything. So it does sound like maybe the sirens? I don't know what that is. Hmm. $2,607 red alerts today. Insane. I'm gonna keep that on the burner. There are a few tweets I wanted to get through as well today. I may not go through all of them, but let's see. Some of this is One Piece stuff, so what the fuck? Okay, that may not be real, but essentially, this was a response to Trump saying that, and I don't know if this is like a real picture or not. It could be, but it might also be doctored. But essentially, there were bombs dropped on Yemen, and clearly this is a response. They may be trying to put this on Trump. Again, I don't know how I mean, obviously, like, to an extent, Israel's actions are the actions of America, but I don't know how specific that gets. So, like, I don't know if dropping a bomb on Yemen was Trump's idea or not, but nonetheless, the Yemenis are not fucking with that, and I don't know, this is just kind of a compelling quote. And no matter, I mean, obviously this is from the perspective of someone I would assume is Muslim, but nonetheless, like, this is, no matter who you are, this is a compelling statement if you do, I mean, if the belief that God created the earth and the heavens is one that you share, then this should ring true, because a lot of people are ascribing, I don't know, people have stated that they think Trump is somehow, like, tied to being the new Messiah, or like he is Jesus or something like that. Like, that, it's just an insane route for the brain to take, and it's something that's harbored by a lot of hateful people. He has not handed them over to Trump or anyone else. So no one human should galvanize you to support them on the basis of being the new Messiah or something. I don't know. This is kind of an insane... I mean, this is literally just propaganda in and of itself, but it's also kind of a self-report, because Israel is saying they are targeting Iran. Iran is a target. Iran is only attacking Israel because they have been targeted. And that's kind of, I don't know. Israel has targets. Is this AI? Bro, I swear to God, this is probably AI. Bro. The IDF targets individuals. I mean, we've seen this over the past 18 months in Gaza. They are targeting the Palestinian people. But, I mean, this is also, like, to argue that what they're trying to say here, like, they're not being precise about what they're doing in Gaza. They are being very, the only lack of discrimination that they have is the lack of discrimination in who they kill in the Middle East. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of like trail off talking about this stuff sometimes. It's just very demoralizing, but
Domestic, like the radical transgender movement is per capita the most violent, domestic terror threat, if not in America, probably the entire world.
That is an insane, like, per capita. You're gonna put a per capita tag on it, just so people can't come at you for how fucking stupid this is. Even saying per capita is like, I don't know what that number is, but he's trying to tag, like, the couple of, like, incidences of gun violence that involved a transgender person. Like, they're not doing it because they're fucking transgender. They're doing it because they're, like, it's something else. It's not like, oh, they're transgender, and so they're trying to erase, the people that don't want them to, exist in the way that they live, which, should happen. Like, if it doesn't concern you, like, let people live how they want to fucking live. But saying that the radical transgender movement is the most violent domestic terror threat in the world is so far off. I mean, if we're talking per capita, it is Israel, but we also have, you know, neo-Nazis in this country, that is a much more clear issue in America. I mean, at least in America, like the Zionist movement is not violent towards, you know, Palestinians or Muslims in general, but they are like societally like discriminatory towards those people, and they ostracize them and try to, you know, get them fired from their jobs, expelled from their universities, things like that. But the like a real domestic terror threat is racial violence done by far right, you know, guys like Vance Bolter. I mean, it's such a clear cut lie that he's trying to redirect like any narrative towards like the issue of right wing, you know, insane people murdering their lawmakers. You know, it's such a clear lie. I don't know. I propaganda is so like deflating to even have to talk about, but I thought this was interesting to mention. The Chinese embassy in Israel advises its citizens to leave Israel via the land border crossings as soon as possible. China is this could just be because Iran has been sending missiles to Israel, but the fact that it's coming out only 2 hours ago that the Chinese embassy wants to say something about it is kind of indicative of something greater going on, like just a greater threat to Israel. So just don't really know, I mean, if this is an indicator for anything or not, but I guess we'll find out. I thought this was, I mean, this is just further proof of the Palestinians being the most resilient peoples on the planet. The fact that this has been happening to them for 18 months, and they still have the humanity to joke. And obviously this is at the expense of Israelis that may be dying, and I don't want to ignore that, but at the same time, this is not in a vacuum, and the fact that the people that have been committing a genocide against their people are now having to experience a fraction of what they've experienced, making a joke about that is very understandable, and again shows the resilient characteristics of the Palestinian people. I think Palestinians have to be the strongest people on this planet. I mean, this is further proof. I forgot this was even like next in my favorited, but I mean, this has been going on. I mean, do the math. That is just heartbreaking. Oh yeah. They're literally making like fake scenarios of what Iran might do with nukes. Because there's no there's no actual evidence that Iran is going to, like, the reason Iran wants nukes is because they want sovereignty. That's how sovereignty works in the world. You know, if you have a nuke, nobody's gonna mess with you. If you don't have a nuke, the people with nukes are gonna mess with you. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened to Ukraine. Also, Avi Shlam.
In the
Take a listen to
mid-1960s,
this guy.
Israel most emphatically, most decisively is not a democracy. It's an ethnocracy. It's a system in which one ethnic group dominates the others. And there is another word for ethnocracy, and that is apartheid. And this is what Israel is. I served in the IDF in the mid-1960s. Israel most emphatically, most decisively is not a democracy. It's an ethnocracy. It's a system in which one ethnic group dominates the others. And there is another word for ethnocracy,
Look at that guy.
and that is
Fucking
others. And there is
He is
another
sweating,
word for
bro.
ethnocracy.
He's like, this guy is, he's literally one of us. He's an Israeli, he used to be in the IDF, and he's an Israeli historian, and he's now telling people this is an apartheid state. Like, this is an apartheid state. And we have to pay attention to that, because even within the state of Israel, the Palestinians and other non-Israeli Jews that live there, it's completely segregated, down to the lack of air defense in like Palestinian neighborhoods, or neighborhoods where there aren't like white Israeli Jews. Like outside of that, there's no air defense. So like if a missile hits, a missile hits. Now obviously I don't think the Iranians are trying to target the Palestinians. They just have a lack of precise targeting capability. And so this is why, you know, obviously they are hitting all over Israel, and some of that is going to end up being, unfortunately, like Palestinian people that have lived there their whole lives for generations and generations. But anyways, why do you keep watching that same clip?
Leave me alone, man.
Oh my god. So over here watching this show, she watched the same clip of this dude dropping his skateboard like 4 times. Oh my god. Anyways.
It's not specifically for that clip, but like the clips after it.
Yeah. So the cringe of him. Yeah.
Mind your business.
Yeah. Anyways. She's so funny. I mean, this is. Oh yeah. This video is kind of cool. This is in Lebanon during a wedding, and they were seeing Iranian missiles flying towards Israel. It's just kind of surreal. I think that's literally what the. Yeah, they even called it surreal, but yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Like, it's just kind of a crazy, I don't know. It's hard to believe that, like, what's happening is on this earth right now. Like they're just two countries lobbing missiles at each other. But, I mean, yeah, Israel just couldn't help themselves.
Relationship between America and Israel.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like it's
I saw
the
this,
most effed up
yesterday.
situation ever. We're like the world's most pathetic sugar daddy. We give them billions of dollars and they shit on us. Like Mr. Jonathan said, now we're ganging on them, we're not helpful. Dude, we gave you $30 billion to bomb children and it's not enough for you. Like, I mean, at least when you pay a dominatrix, you know that you're getting fucked. But this is just America having a public humiliation king while getting fucked, and they call this foreign policy. They are arresting American students on American soils for protesting Israeli war crimes. What the hell, man? This is like your crack whore making you beat your children for calling her what she is, a whore. خلاص يعني the thing, this is what really boggles me in America. The right and the left, they fight each other tooth and nail over gun control, education, minorities' rights, healthcare, DEI. But when it comes
Who
to
is
Israel,
this guy?
everybody competes to be Israel's favorite bitch. Republicans hate handouts unless it's for Israel. And Democrats, they love human rights unless it's for the Palestinians. I mean, this is a Delulu state. You guys are Delulu. وحياة ربنا, you are Delulu. Like, I came here today to witness for myself how someone can lie so shamelessly. The guy is like a human pinball machine. Every question lies on him, ends on Hamas. He's like a magic 8 ball with one answer. Hamas. يعني at least flat earthers, they make things
Hamas.
interesting. You guys are boring. You are like the same thing.
You guys
I
are
left all of
boring.
this. I left the media because of this. I come back. It's a freaking Groundhog Day. Every day the same question, the same thing. Dude, nobody believes you. You are liars.
Okay.
Nobody believes you.
Okay, let me.
And the crazy part is that like Piers Morgan is now finally being outspoken about what's going on in Gaza, which is kind of interesting to see. I mean, he was so outspoken against it for the longest time, and now he's like, what? I can't think of another like mainstream media personality that has actually said something about like actively about what's going on in Gaza, and then I don't know where Piers Morgan just flipped and was like, no, yeah, there's a genocide going in Gaza. We need to talk about it. And so I'm assuming that's why he even had this guy on. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm assuming this man here is arguing in favor of Israel, of course, as they have a correspondent for every possible, media appearance. Like, they have somebody for everything, but, yeah. New One Piece chapter this week, that's dope.
The world. May Allah Israel
I think this is fake.
hypnotize the
Yeah.
world. May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States. Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help
Bro.
people and help them awaken the people. May Allah awaken the people. May Allah awaken the people.
Bro, I gotta use that. It's something. That clip is hilarious. May Allah awaken the people. Bro, that's great. Oh yeah, this is just like the umpteenth example of like. No, I can't say what I want to say. Like, I don't know, just the fucking most stupid guy who also happens to be Hispanic voting for Trump and just like not expecting this to happen when he literally said this was what he wanted to do. And like, at least he's finally gotten to the right conclusion, but it's just like too little too late from, at least, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Ryan Garcia was going to do anything about it beforehand, but still.
King. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or a tyrant or a dictator. We don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that as America, that we're willing to die to protect it.
Damn.
Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardian, and Coast Guard, each of us commits our very life to protect and defend that.
Guys like this are going to keep our country from just completely flipping. Ah, damn. Support that guy. General Milley. Oh, what the fuck? Yeah. Bro, I saw a quote retweet of this and it was like, bro, they put that in there like they sprinkled crack, like they just dropped it in there. And you're like, all right, let's take some pictures of it. Like, bro, that is the most obvious. Like, these papers down here don't even have anything on them. And like, what's so, like, this isn't even like an indictment of anything. It just says no kings, which is a peaceful protest. So like, what's even the indictment here? Like, oh, he supported no kings, so that means he's a terrorist. Like, what? Like, yeah, he's a terrorist, but that's not why. He's a terrorist because he killed a fucking lawmaker. He tried to kill another one, and he had a list that he wanted to kill. He had I don't even know how many people are on it, but like that's why he's a terrorist, not because he had no king signs on his car. So like, what is this even trying to say? Is it trying to say that like being against tyranny and like a dictator state with, you know, instances of police brutality being seen on the regular for the past, like, what, 8 days, 9 days, at least? Obviously, like, before the LA protest against ICE, but, you know, it's just, like, it has been nonstop over the past, you know, week and some days. Sorry, I got stunlocked for a minute, but this shit it's just frustrating, because it's such an obvious, like, way to try and paint a narrative, but, like, people will still believe it. There's still fucking morons that will believe it. Oh, yeah, this is, like... So, like, the most clear violation of posse comitatus, right? The U.S. Marines are stepping in and arresting a civilian, which is goes directly against what the law says about, you know, the military operating against its own population. And let's see what the community note has to say. Yeah, he is a veteran, and he just didn't hear them, and so... But, like, the fact that, like, they shouldn't be arresting him in the first place. He's in public, on public property. He was going to a courthouse. Or I think he was, like, picking up, like he had benefits, like veterans benefits. I don't know, or something like that. He was literally just going to, like, yeah, heading to a VA appointment, sorry. It's right here, but heading to a VA appointment. Like, he was literally just going to something that's, like, his routine. He was just going about his everyday life, and they just fucking detained him. Like, that's a clear overstep, rather, of the U.S. government. These are Marines. It's insane. And this is obviously the take of why Iran should have nukes, not to use them, but so that they are seen as a sovereign entity on the world stage. I really don't know where I stand on this. Obviously, I think Iran not being, like, just fucking obliterated because they don't have the one thing that will ensure that, like, you know, like, mutually assured destruction. Like, this is the nuclear doctrine, right? Of, like, if you want to be recognized as a power on the world stage, you have to have nukes. So that's the argument. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but nonetheless, it's a discussion to be had. No, what happened? What the fuck? Fuck this guy. No way. Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's a little unnecessary, my fault. Hell yeah, dude. Oh, this music. That's so cool, dude. Oh. This is such a great fucking thread. This guy posted last year. This shit is funny. I'm surprised that there's such a jump in my bookmarks, but I guess that's because I stopped using Twitter the whole time. Actually, that makes perfect sense. But this shit is funny. So this person, this person had a beat placement on this album that they were making. They were helping make for Trippie Redd, and then they found out that it was a collaboration with Machine Gun Kelly, and then posted this. And I mean, I think it was that I don't think I heard any of this music, but I know they had a single before that, and it was ass. Yeah, been removed from the album. Good luck. So yeah, he just like removed her for it. And like everybody's like cooking him, but yeah, they got paid anyways. And then this fucking, I don't know. She's got some interesting takes on this website, but like she's just over here sucking Trippie Redd's dick, and she's kind of, yeah. My peers. So this guy's got it right, but he's using it against her when he should be using it against this person. Oh, anyways. As for morals. And I think that is true because, like, Machine Gun Kelly is a weird fucking piece of shit. But yeah, this person is like claiming that's what her problem is, when it's like that's what other people think. That's how other people's brains operate, actually, is about gains and benefit. And that's what this person is saying. You lost your gains and benefit for some Twitter likes. And it's like, well, I lost my gains and benefit for my honor and morals. Anyways, that's a pretty funny thread. I don't think most of this other shit is... Yeah, it's just One Piece. That's like all I've bookmarked currently. It's crazy how, like, encampments, like shelter for refugees, is somehow more beautiful than anything I've seen out of Israel. Like, Israel is just, I don't see anything that's, like, natural and, like, beautiful about it. What is it? Jerusalem? Because that wasn't built by Israel. Anyways, okay, this is one last check, but I think it's for me in a second.
I'm feeding them. Israeli society might not be willing to sustain it. If we get to the point of really, through international mediators or through U.S. action, meaning I'm not talking here about military action, but any kind of diplomatic action, the war were to stop now, actually it is not to the advantage of Israel, it's not to the advantage of the U.S. This actually favors the view that the U.S. will have to intervene in a military fashion, even though...
God damn it. That's not good here. Oh, let me spell that correctly. Yeah, I'm going. I don't know. Yeah,
Iran is still unknown. The initial strikes appear to have targeted radars, air defenses, aircraft, and control towers, which paves the way for follow-up attacks on secondary sites. Israel's attention will now turn to the secondary targets of strategic and economic nature, such as ports, refineries, and missile factories. The Israeli military said as much when it described the operation as the first stage, signaling that more attacks could follow in the next few days, if not weeks. But even if Israel's next wave of attacks is tactically successful, dismantling Iran's nuclear program entirely would require direct American involvement. Without US involvement, Israel can't do it. At best, they might delay Iran's progress by 1 to 2 years. At worst, the strikes could backfire, prompting Iran to rapidly assemble a crude nuclear device as a deterrent against future attacks. Though Israel claims its goal is to take out Iran's nuclear program and prevent it from building a nuclear bomb, its actions suggest a deeper objective: regime change. all the Israeli attacks have so far targeted
And
IRGC
this is
officials.
exactly what the Israelis are trying to say now, is that they want a regime change.
While avoiding the leadership of Iran's regular armed forces, which may be a calculated attempt at divide and rule. You see, the Revolutionary Guards and the regular military often operate at odds, with the IRGC holding dominance in both political and economic spheres. So, by degrading the IRGC, Israel may be trying to provoke internal friction, perhaps even encouraging the regular military to turn against the Revolutionary Guards in a bid for power. Tellingly, Israel's campaign is called Operation Rising Lion, which is likely a nod to the pre-revolution Iranian flag and suggests that regime change may be the ultimate objective. Whether that gamble pays off is another question entirely. Comparably, Tehran's strategy is also regime change, but through more legal means. The Iranians know they can't change Netanyahu's mind, but they might just be able to collapse his government by building up domestic pressure and triggering a vote of no confidence. To do this, Iranians will need to deliver maximum harm to Israel, but do so by focusing on infrastructure, military and leadership targets while avoiding civilian sites as much as possible, which may be difficult in practice. And so the Iranians will want to launch waves of missiles at Israel day after day in the hope that it might lead to a vote of no confidence. This would be a political victory that helps Tehran save face and boost its position in future negotiations. But again, there is no guarantee that it would work. Regime change is less a strategy than a roll of the dice. The behavior of both Iran and Israel in the coming weeks will depend on a mix of military, political, regional and strategic factors. Even a slight shift in one variable, like a US statement of support, could trigger ripple effects that drastically alter their next moves. In such a volatile moment, weak retaliation from Iran won't deter Israel, but a strong one risks drawing America into the war. That's precisely what Israel may try to from their next moves.
What the fuck?
In such a ripple effects that drastically alter their next moves. Support could trigger.
Who are these motherfuckers? The damn Pharisees? What the hell?
Ripple effects that drastically alter their next moves. In such a volatile moment, weak retaliation from Iran won't deter Israel, but a strong one risks drawing America into the war. That's precisely what Israel may try to provoke, escalating in hopes of pulling America in. By contrast, Iran will likely aim to respond in a way that shows strength and re-establishes deterrence while avoiding a wider conflict. What the Iranians will likely want are strikes that preserve an off-ramp for de-escalation, for example, by giving advance warning to the United States and regional countries. It took a similar approach during Operation True Promise in April 2024 when it launched a large-scale drone and missile attack on Israel, but avoided triggering a wider conflict. So, at this stage, it's a matter of sustainment versus escalation. Israel may have deflected much of Iran's first few waves of attacks, but its stockpile of interceptors won't hold out forever. Iran can try to wear down Israeli defenses, fire enough missiles at enough targets, and some will inevitably get through. However, Iran will face attrition of its own. Drones are plentiful but relatively easy to shoot down. Ballistic missiles are far more destructive and harder to intercept, but they're not easily replaced. Iran is believed to have an arsenal of around 3,000 ballistic missiles. While not all have the range to reach Israel, enough could break through Israeli and US air defenses to inflict serious damage and force Netanyahu's political hand. So again, it comes down to a strategy of sustainment versus escalation. In years past, Iran wouldn't have relied solely on its missiles. Its first line of defense was its network of Arab proxies, specifically Hezbollah. But after a year of fighting with Israel, Hezbollah is now much weaker. Many of its leaders have been killed, and much of its hierarchy has been infiltrated by Mossad agents. Hezbollah still has a large missile and rocket arsenal, but using them now would be politically risky. The Lebanese government is struggling to rebuild and has warned Hezbollah not to drag the country into another war on Iran's behalf. Thus, Hezbollah is sitting this one out. Alternatively, to re-establish deterrence, Iran could employ its proxies to launch a series of attacks on American forces stationed in Jordan, Syria, and Iraq. At the same time, the Houthis in Yemen could launch missiles at Israel and possibly target remaining US naval ships in the Red Sea. However, this would be a terribly risky move. Directly attacking US assets could prompt retaliation against the Iranian leadership, something akin to the January 2020 assassination of Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani. The end result could see the US Air Force doing even more damage than Israel's airstrikes. Another way for Iran to establish deterrence, and less expected, would be to strike US allies in the Gulf region. For example, Iran could use its proxies to attack oil facilities in Saudi Arabia like it did in 2019, or hit targets in the UAE as it did in 2022. Attacking the oil and gas infrastructure in the Gulf region, including ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, would almost certainly cause oil prices to surge. In such a scenario, Gulf leaders who have pledged hundreds of billions in investments to the United States would likely push Trump to rein in Israel and halt its attacks on Iran. There is no guarantee that it would.
This is where the Trump administration really just fucked up with Trump accepting an open fucking bribe in the form of a $400 million plane from Saudi Arabia, because now he's at their beck and call. If this happens, like if Iran does do this again, then Trump is going to be in between two angry countries in the Middle East, because Saudi Arabia is not going to like that, nor the UAE. But yeah. Anyways.
Work, but sometimes the shortest path to victory goes through someone else's backyard. Having said that, any Iranian attack on Gulf Arab states, while possible, would likely end the improving diplomatic ties Iran has worked to build with those countries in recent years. So every form of retaliation carries some risk of blowback. Yet, perhaps the strongest form of deterrence for Iran would be to conduct a nuclear test. It would signal to both Israel and the United States that Iran is no longer bluffing about its nuclear ambitions, but it would also provoke international outrage, trigger new sanctions, and deepen Iran's isolation. Still, if the Iranian government sees its survival at stake, the supreme leader may decide the cost is worth it. A nuclear test would force the Israelis and Americans to weigh the risk of turning a conventional conflict into a nuclear one. At the very least, Tehran may opt for a non-kinetic response, one that signals nuclear intent but keeps it ambiguous enough to avoid immediate escalation. Iranian officials have long warned they would leave the non-proliferation treaty if their nuclear program came under military attack. That moment may now be near. Overall, the course of both Israeli and Iranian actions in the coming weeks will depend on the scale and intensity of what each side does next. The longer the attacks continue and the more damage they inflict, the smaller the window for de-escalation. With every strike and counterstrike, controlling what comes next grows more difficult, because despite best efforts, precision strikes rarely end with precision outcomes. been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. If you approve of what we
Shout out Caspian Report. What the fuck? Alright, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. Let's see. Nothing. What's on here? Nothing. Oh wait, maybe something. Oh. Well. Trump's economy. Woohoo.
وعشنا في الخيالات سئمنا مرورا